During the 17th century, there was a villager who lived in a small Istrian village called Kringa, which is located in modern-day Croatia. But it wasn't his life that placed his name in the history books, but his death. Or, to be more accurate, what happened after his death. Because this villager, Jure Grando, is said to have been the first real person described as a vampire in historical records. Very little is known about Jure Grando's life beyond him living in the village. He was supposedly born in 1579 and he had been married to a woman named Ivana and they had 2 children together. Jure would die in 1656 due to an illness and he was buried in the local cemetery by the village priest, Father Giorgio. Though it's said that he was not buried properly, and this is what led to him rising again. Sometime after he had been buried, the rest of the local population would report that Jure had been seen wandering around the village. Father Giorgio would then look into these reports and he learned that someone would knock on the doors around the village at night. He would also soon learn that these knocks appeared to be warnings. If a house had gotten a knock in the night, then someone from that house would die within the next few days. To his amazement, Father Giorgio would conclude that somehow Jure had returned from the dead to haunt and terrorize the people in his town. But knocking on doors wasn't the worst of what he supposedly did, because every night Jure would visit his widow, and she would describe him as looking as though he was smiling and gasping for breath at the same time, and he would force himself on her every night. And this torment of her and the rest of the village would last for 16 years. On one night, Father Giorgio had confronted Jure, and legend has it that when he did, he held out a cross in front of him and invoked the name of Jesus Christ, which caused the vampire to cry and run back to the cemetery. In 1672, a prefect named Miho Radetic gathered a group of men to hunt Jure down. And they did. They chased him down and tried to kill him by piercing his heart with a hawthorn stick. But this failed because the stick just bounced off his chest. But the men were determined. This torment needed to end. So merely one night later, 9 people, including Father Giorgio, went to the graveyard. They were carrying lamps, a cross, and another hawthorn stick. They would dig up Jure's coffin, open it, and to their surprise and terror, they found a perfectly preserved corpse with a smile on its face. Father Giorgio would once again invoke the name of Jesus Christ before trying to pierce the vampire's heart. Once again, the stick could not pierce the skin. They then tried to stab the vampire in the stomach with a wooden stake, but this didn't work either. One of the men then took a saw and tried to cut off Jure's head. And according to the legend, as soon as the saw started cutting his skin, Jure's eyes would pop open. He would start screaming and blood started to flow from the cut. So much blood, in fact, that it filled the entire grave. After beheading the body, the men would cover up the grave once again. And that was the end of Jure Grando the vampire, and peace had finally returned to the region. The legend of Jure Grando was told to the Carniolian scientist Johann Weichard von Valvassor while visiting Kringa during his travels. He would then write about Jure Grando's life and afterlife in his work, The Glory of the Duchy of Carniola from 1689. But what's most important here is that Jure Grando is believed to be the first person to be referred to as a vampire in local records. To be more exact, he was referred to as a strigoi in local records. A strigoi in Romanian mythology are troubled spirits that are said to have risen from the grave. They're said to have abilities such as transforming into an animal, becoming invisible, and gaining vitality from the blood of the living. The name strigoi comes from the Latin strix and striga. In classical antiquity, the strix was a bird of ill omen that fed on human flesh and blood. The term would also refer to witches and warlocks. And similar creatures are the Polish striga, which is a female demon in Slavic mythology, and the Albanian striga, which is a vampiric witch that sucks the blood of infants at night while they sleep. Even though Jure Grando is referred to as a vampire in local records, his story is muddled a bit. For instance, there is a theory about his legend that say that he was not actually married to Ivana, but they were in love. However, in medieval Europe, there was a law called Right of the First Night. This law would allow local lords to spend the night with subordinate women, often on their wedding night. Jure, understandably, opposed this, which led to a prefect being hired to kill him. This hitman would hit Jure on the head with a pickaxe and then bury him. But he didn't do a good job because Jure wasn't dead, he was merely unconscious. So he would wake up and start calling for help from the grave. Jure would be dug up, but by the wrong people, because to avoid the truth getting out, he was beheaded as soon as he was out of the grave, and he would then be reburied. And it's said that his grave is located under the stone path that leads from the church to the cemetery. While the legend of Jure Grando has lived on for centuries, it has mainly been used as a scary story. But when vampires started becoming more prominent in pop culture, the village of Kringa decided to resurrect the legend to draw tourists. And among other things, there is now a museum dedicated to the man who is said to be the first known vampire.